As someone who administers a ton of PBX systems, I know firsthand that mobile soft phones can be a real pain in the butt. You don't want the install and setup of a soft phone on a mobile device to be too complicated for your users, but you also want to ensure that your SIP credentials are secure and your whole solution is secure. And of course, you also don't want soft phone administration to create too much extra work for yourself as the IT or PBX administrator. So when looking at soft phones that users can install onto their mobile devices, you got to weigh these options, right? Security versus ease of administration. And at the same time, you can't overwhelm your users with complicated instructions for how to set up their phone. It just needs to be dead simple. And of course, price is always a concern. So any mobile soft phone solution should also be cost effective. Clearly IP has just released their Clearly Anywhere soft phone for Android and iPhone. And so far, it's the only phone that I've seen that really sort of checks all of these boxes. And as an added bonus, it also adds SMS capability and video calling. Now, by comparison, here at Crosstalk, we've been selling and recommending the CounterPath Bria Enterprise softphone solution because it's really an easy phone for your users to install. And it's got a lot of power when it comes to the ability for IT administrators to provision phone settings for your users and set it up for the users in the back end so that your users don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But Bria Enterprise has two major downsides. First, it's pretty expensive. The Bria mobile device license, which only allows you to install their software onto a single mobile device, is $29 per year per device. Second, there are some security concerns in that you have to enter all of your users' SIP credentials into Bria's cloud portal, which may or may not be of concern to you if you're used to trusting cloud applications. But bottom line is that you are required to put your trust into CounterPath to make sure that your data stays secure. And if they were ever hacked, man, I mean, tens of thousands of users' SIP credentials could be potentially exposed to, the dark web, the dark side of the internet, right? So let's take a look at Clearly Anywhere's new solution by comparison. First of all, the price is pretty good. All right? They've launched with special pricing of $9.99 per user per year. And if you purchase at that price now, you are grandfathered in for the life of your license. That price will not go up. The phone works off the PJ SIP stack, so this means you can have it installed on as many devices as you want. iPhone, Android, your tablets, your smartphones, doesn't matter which platform you install it onto or how many instances of the soft phone you're running. When someone calls you, all of your registered devices can ring, including your physical desktop phone if you have one of those. Second is ease of use for both you and your users. For your users, all they have to do is download the soft phone from the App Store or the Google Play Store, just like they're used to with any other smartphone application, and then they just log into the phone with their free PBX user control panel credentials, as well as a domain, right? Such as pbx.company.com. Pretty simple. But to make it even easier, Clearly IP has also built in a widget for the user control panel, which gives your users a QR code that they can scan from the Clearly app, right? So you're completely eliminating the need to put in a username and password manually into the phone. I mean, your users just have to scan the QR code and they're up and running. On the IT administrative side, you can configure group permissions in FreePBX. Now, I would recommend creating a Softphone users group and then just add all of your Softphone users into that group. It's very simple to administer and deploy. By doing this, you can centrally administer all of your users' soft phones from your own FreePBX or PBExact interface. By contrast, remember, Bria Enterprise requires you to administer your users' logins in their cloud interface, right? And also requires you to give the Bria Cloud all of your users' SIP credentials. Clearly Anywhere not only allows you to administer users and SIP credentials all in one GUI, but they aren't the man in the middle between your softphone users and the PBX. Your SIP credentials are never stored in a separate cloud interface. And again, if you rely on the cloud for many of your business's services, perhaps this isn't such a big deal, but to me, I would much rather have one less third-party entity that I have to trust to safeguard my data. All right, so next, let's go ahead and take a look at the Clearly IP softphone itself. All right, so I've got my phone up. This is the Clearly Anywhere soft phone. We can see that I can put in a username, which would then ask for a password and a domain. The domain typically just being the IP address or fully qualified domain name for your phone system. Or I can scan QR code. So if we look on in my user control panel here, we can see that I have a QR code. This is the Softphone provisioning module from Clearly IP. I'm just going to hit scan QR. And then we're going to scan the QR code. Boom. And just like that, my phone has been registered as extension 230. Now from here, I can go ahead and just start making phone calls.
Press 1 for free PBX and voice over IP support and inquiries.
All right, there we go. So easy enough. I'm already up and running with the smartphone. That took 2 seconds if you're the user, right? All right, let's take a look at this interface. If I click on Quick Dial in the bottom left, this is where we can add speed dials. But this is not just speed dials. This is also where we can add BLF keys. So this phone will work with your BLFs in free PBX. So I'm going to say 201. We're going to make that a BLF and save. And now we can see that I've added Andy S into my phone, and if Andy S gets on their phone, this little light here next to their name will turn green, right? So I can see if they're on or off a call, and then it functions as a speed dial, regardless if they're on or off a call. All right, if we click on history, we can see the, basically the call history. Keypad is simple enough. That's going to be our dial pad. Then if we click on contacts, this is contacts brought in from our cell phone's contacts, right? So Clearly IP, you have to give it authorization to look at your contacts, and then once you've done that, you can bring in all of your cell phone contacts. And then finally, we have messages, because there is a full SMS engine built into this phone. So I can text my cell phone can text me, and the nice thing is, if I've set this up so that multiple phones are sharing the same SMS DID, a client can say text that DID, and that text shows up on all of my phones that have access to it, right? That's fully permissible in group permissions. Because of that, that means that now any of your agents, or salespeople or whomever can reply to that SMS, and then everyone else will also see the reply because that's synchronized as well. So you can kind of have full-on SMS communications with your customers from your team, right? So your team can basically have full control over who they're text messaging as far as your business goes, which is great. I love that. This also does do video calling as well. But let's go back to the keypad and click on our settings, because there's some pretty innovative settings that they've built in here. Account setup is just your account credentials. That's nothing. Incoming calls, we're going to determine whether or not we want push notifications on. Now, push notifications work fine in this phone, but you have to turn on the FreePBX responsive firewall to allow the push servers to authenticate with your PBX. The push notifications mean even if the Clearly Anywhere app is closed on your phone in order to save battery power, a call will still come through. It'll fire open that app, and then the call will ring on the app. And you'll get all of the associated notifications and whatnot as well. If we click on preferences, certainly we can set our ringtones, we can change our sounds, we can enable or disable call recording. So you can say record all calls. You can record all calls multi-channel, so that basically each side of the phone conversation is its own separate audio file or audio track. You can also archive call recordings after a certain amount of time, etc., etc. Very cool to have all of that in here. Call forwarding, you can allow your users to set their own call forwarding for the Clearly Anywhere phone. And then we get to number rewriting. Now, number rewriting is a really cool feature because, with Kerry's Law and the Ray-Baum Act, we have not yet really cracked the code on how to facilitate 911 emergency dialing, and it's, other codes in other countries. But here in the US, we dial 911 for emergency services. If that goes out from my mobile soft phone, the authorities are going to have no idea where to show up, right? So then you got to go to a national center, they got to figure out the address, and it just adds delays to the whole thing. So what we can do here is add a number rewrite rule where we're going to say when a number starts with 911, done, we're going to override the dial action, and we're going to make that a GSM call. Okay, so basically we're saying if you dial 911 from Clearly Anywhere, use your cell carrier for that call. Okay, we're just handing it off to the cell carrier who has, a lot more experience with 911 call handling than sort of the loosey-goosey rules they've got set up for it now with soft phones on smartphones. It just does not work very well today. Hopefully that'll change at some point. If we click on network, we can choose which wireless networks are allowed or disallowed in terms of making calls from specific wireless networks. And this phone will seamlessly transition from like an LTE network over to a wireless network if you come in range of the wireless network. Like if you're talking on your Clearly IP phone in the car and then you get home where you connect to your home Wi-Fi, it will transition that call over to your home Wi-Fi seamlessly. Then we have some other settings. Here's a good one. So do not disturb. What if you don't want your Clearly IP phone ringing at all hours of the night? Well, you can set up scheduled rules for when your phone is on do not disturb. So basically, 5 p.m. until 8 a.m. And then Saturday and Sunday, we don't want my Clearly IP phone to ring. I only want it to ring during business hours. That is something you can set up right in here. And so there we go. There's a quick look at the Clearly Anywhere soft phone. Now, is this a perfect solution? No, there's no perfect soft phone solution. One thing that I would love to see, and I believe is coming in a future version, is when you go to your quick dials and you add these BLFs, it would be nice if your IT administrator could have some sort of template that you can give all of the BLFs for your company to all of your users, and each of your users doesn't have to set up their own BLFs manually. That would be awesome, and I've heard that that is a feature that's coming in a future version, but I don't quite yet have an ETA on that. All right, so the Clearly IP soft phone is currently $9.99. You can get that at the Crosstalk Solutions store. There will be a link down below where you can buy, all of your voice over IP needs. Anything that we recommend and sell is in our Crosstalk store. So go ahead and visit there if you're interested in trying out the Clearly Anywhere soft phone. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please click subscribe. My name's Chris with Crosstalk Solutions, and thank you so much for watching.